they want to go. So things have to take the normal course. Now, if normal course is not resorted to, this is the situation we are. Yes, it does not affect her appointment. You know, initially the president wanted to make her INEC commissioner, and people resisted. You can't be a card-carrying member of one party and then be in INEC to superintend this thing. So that eventually she got a place at. So the suspension will continue as long as the party itself. Look, and you see, it creates danger. The danger is that you are accusing people of anti-party. Let us take the case of the PDP. Fairness is fairness, equity and everything. If Ayu came out before his own election, national chairmanship election, to say that okay, if the party candidate comes from the north, then you relinquish. Morality demands that immediately the candidate.
He became the chairman.
Yes, when he became the chairman and the candidate too came from the north, he ought to have relinquished that gentleman's agreement.
Is there morality in politics?
Well, they may not be, but that's what they claim.
Well, I'm not encouraging it.
No, I agree with you, particularly in our own. Now, in this case, so the G5 were now saying that look, you said it, so you must honor your words. So they didn't. So this anti-party will as long as the party itself is not strong enough. In some cases, yes, we have to let us look at the issue of this fuel crisis and the Naira design or whatever they call it. Naira, I prefer to call it Naira confiscation. You ask people to bring their money to the bank and then you say, okay, you can't have access.
It's in your account.
I know, but I know. So now the party was not involved. The president has chief economic advisor, he was not involved. The minister of finance was not involved. The governors of the federation were not. So who were involved? The president and the Emefiele. It doesn't happen like that. So this thing will have been discussed at the party level. This is what we want to do. So Mr. Government, Mr. President, go out to and do it. So you give you support.
So the party is weak. Saki, your final take on this in few sentences.
Well, I think we have to redefine what is meant by anti-party activity. As I said earlier, it has become too nebulous. You can't really pin any activity as specifically as an anti-party. But so it is a discretion of the leadership. If they see you behaving funnily about them, they will just invoke this anti-party activity, and I think there is a high time we stopped it for a more serious more serious organization of our political parties. Otherwise, we'll be having series of suspension and counter suspension based on allegation of anti-party activities.
Okay, we'll move to the next topic now, and the Arewa Consultative Forum is speaking here, and that forum is saying Nigerians will resist any attempt to foist interim government on Nigeria. Adian Brown.
Do we even need the Arewa Consultative Forum to come and say this? Interim government is an aberration. It's unacceptable globally. Only places where there is no order is this entertained, particularly when you have maybe a military in power. But when you have a democratic rule, you don't even think of it. You don't consider it. So people who are saying it know for what purpose. They are saying it for their own selfish reasons. It is not in the interest of the people, and the only person that said it with credibility is Chief Afe Babalola. But his own quest for interim government is clearly defined. He said 6 months.
And that was even before the elections.
Long before the election. Because he foresaw what might happen after the election. So he predicted that this is likely to happen. And therefore, to preempt it, let's have an interim government. And then work on the constitution. Say that within 6 months, all the missing links in the constitution, you link them. all that need to be rectified in the constitution you do, so that it becomes people-oriented constitution. What we have now is not good in any way for the nation.
Okay, Mr. Lagola, who will you say actually, I want you to guess, you may not conceive this idea of interim government. Will you say it was Chief Afebawala?
Well, even that of Chief Afebawala, that Leonard Silk, was as good as the suggestion was not in conformity with the constitution. So there was no way that one could have been practiced. The theoretical framework is very solid, sound, but everything we do has to be in conformity with the constitution. It did not follow. For us to have a suggestion, that means you have to tinker with the constitution. And who are the people that will tinker? So that's it. Now the call now after the election, I look at it from two dimensions. One, the conspiracy theory. And the conspiracy theory says that people within APC, some people, the cabal, who don't want Asiwaju to be inaugurated, are the people. They are the people mooting this idea of interim government, so that the president-elect will not be a beneficiary. That is one. Now, the second theory is that those who lost in the election, who now believe that they don't want to lose out totally, they are the second category of people asking for interim government. Now, for these people, the law allows that after election, if you are dissatisfied with the outcome, you go to court. So since they have gone to court, one will have least expected that there will be hullabaloo about the election result. You have gone to court, let the court decide. Even where you don't agree, or you believe the court are not going to do justice, it's still the court that we have to go. So let them dispense with the case. Now there are utterances that is heating up the polity. People went to the national defense, whatever it is, to defense house to sort of ginger these people to take over power. These are things that
but they did not use that word.
They may not have used, but what's the essence? Why did they go there in the first place?
At least you are aware now. If they didn't go there, you might not be aware.
And that's what is the purpose? Why did they go there?
So that everybody could know.
Oh, okay.
That they are dissatisfied.
So, but if they are dissatisfied, the only way is that let the court do justice.
Okay, Saki, why would any individual conceive this idea of interim government when we now have a president-elect?
See, we should get one fact straight. The concept of ING is not as if it doesn't exist. It exists. It has been operated in some countries. For instance, for many years, ING operated in Liberia with Bosoya as the interim national government. He attended conferences. He was in Abuja here for one of the AU meetings, recognized. And we've seen cases where even the United Nations and AU have established ING in some countries. But one thing is clear, it is where there is crisis that ING becomes necessary, as it were. We had ING in Nigeria during the Babangida when he was rushing away from office.
When he was stepping aside.
We had ING headed by the National Council. One curious thing about the National Council government was that it was declared illegal by a court judgment delivered by Justice Dolapo Akisanya, that woman. And that judgment was not upheld. The government did not implement it. Until he died, it was still recognized as a former head of state. Well, it shouldn't have been, because there was no superior judgment that vacated that Justice Dolapo Akisanya's judgment. So these are some of the basic. You see, ING for now, Baba Afebawala proposed that. It was before the election. not after the election, when some people have lost. He said for the country to be on a saner path, you should adopt. He suggested it. He even went further to say he will lead a move to organize fundraising to save Nigeria from its high debt profile. He said it with good intention, patriotic moves. But what you are having now is not the kind of intention that Afi Bola had before the election. Yes, election has taken place. In a normal, as you expected, some have lost, some have won, and there is no basis for asking for an interim government. Interim government cannot be put in place by an individual. Our constitution, 1999 constitution, I think it's section 305(3), state categorically how ING can be installed. It's only the president that can order the constitution on your interim government, not an individual, not a group. And there are things that should have happened before the president can even decide to inaugurate an interim government. So all these agitations, I think some people were just flying the kite. And DSS did not behave better. DSS actions have even orchestrated that idea. You know, saying you have to identify some people who are these people. So ING is not something that can just emerge overnight. Somebody just sleep somewhere and just wake up and say, I have installed ING. No, that power belongs to the president. The court can annul it as it happened during 1993. Even the court cannot install ING. But if it is installed illegally, it can be annulled. So that is the situation. We don't need any ING. We don't need it. The aggrieved people, as a result of the election, they are already in court. Let's wait for the court. And I want to be, maybe some people have lost confidence in our courts. That's why they don't want to. They want to use some backdoor way to get their intentions put in place.
Bra, this ING as it were, is it not a way? Is it not a means through which our bad political leaders, bad losers, was just trying to eat up the polity because they have lost out?
Well, it could be. But you know, as philosophers would say, there are two ways of bringing about changes. The quick but radical way that is called revolution, and the slow but sure process. But what we are having now is a mixture of the two, because there is no particular goal in sight. Some people want it just because they lost, but some people are truly dissatisfied with the system. People are not happy
with the process.
The process. No, even the nation, what is going on in the country. People are crying every day. See developments, recent developments. The judiciary is the last hope of the downtrodden or the masses. Now, people are beginning to lose confidence in the judiciary, to the extent that even legal luminaries are questioning the integrity of the judiciary.
Of the Supreme Court.
Of the Supreme Court. That is the judiciary. So where do we go from there? Where do we go from here? We are gradually descending into a banana republic. If care is not taken, there will be total disorderliness. And so the issue of seeking interim government can only come when there is a national conference, and they know there's no way that one can happen unless there is total breakdown of law and order.
We have National Assembly.
People are going, the way things are going, my brother, I pray we don't wake up one day to find that there is upheaval everywhere. The way people are talking now, when last did you hear that? People saying on video that this thing would not be. Quote me, I'm saying it, I'm not afraid of anybody. As if there is no government in place. Do you know what they might have done underground? We might wake up one day and you hear upheaval in the north, upheaval in the east, breakdown of law and order in the west. And before you know it, things are in total, disarray. So when this happens, some radical elements who might be an accomplice will just say they have seized power, and then they will now call for national conference, and it will be embraced. That is the danger, because people are dissatisfied. People are questioning the integrity of the Supreme Court. So if anything happens now, the danger is the way Nigerians embrace changes. And what happens? Changes are usually embraced by the docile, the docility of the educated youths, and sometimes the passivity and compromise of the intellectual elite. Once these two do not do what they need to do, there is danger in the air. And so we must not rule out the possibility of anything.
So the DSS could be right. Is that what you are saying?
They are not right because they did not even go about it professionally. You are to seek intelligence, and if during this thing you discover that maybe some people were about to do something wrong, what is their duty as DSS? They ought to have arrested them and bring them to the book, parade them, and then take next reaction. They didn't do that. They only said, we have identified them. They flew a kite and said, we have even identified those behind it. Just like Gumi also did at the beginning of Boko Haram. When Gumi would come and say, yes, we know people who are doing this, and then he started negotiating between the country and people trying to bring down the country. And yet, he was going about free.
There is this mentality among our politicians. When you lose an election, you want everything to collapse. We have seen instances of such attitude by these politicians after losing the election. What they have been guiding jealously, they started throwing it away. Are these not set of people behind all these calls?
Certainly they are. Mm-hmm. You see, everybody goes into election with the mentality that he's the winner. And there are about 18 candidates. Even if it is 5, not all the 5 can become a president at the same time or governors. So, but this mentality that, oh, I'm the winner. Look at the case of the presidential election now. By INEC statistics or data, Atiku came second with 8 million votes and some states. Obi came third with 6 million. The two of them are laying claim to that same office. So that is a problem. Look,
are you surprised? We have had number 4 who became governor now.
Yes, I agree. Yes, I agree.
There are antecedents.
There are antecedents, fine, but should that continue?
We also have people who never contested.
So, well, that, but you should try to correct it. Nigeria. So, yes, it is that mentality that's actually affecting. Otherwise, if at the end of the election, if you don't win today, you may win tomorrow. So if you collapse the whole system because we did not win today, then do we know what the future holds in store for us? So this mentality that I must win at all costs, have to change the attitude and see election as a contestation where somebody will emerge at the end. So if you emerge, fine. If you don't, you try your luck next time.
But your final take on this?
Well, you see, the kind of leadership you give epitomizes the kind of followership you receive. He has said it all. They go in there with the aim of being the winner so that he can take all. And once that doesn't happen, he wants to bring down the roof. And back to square one, no unity of purpose. We only say party. Party as what?
You talk about the followers too. We have some political followers that no matter what the Oga at the top says, they defend, they justify, they prove, they demonstrate.
Good. The kind of leadership you give epitomizes the kind of followership you receive.
Okay.
Because the Oga is their own man. Whatever he says,
Their bread will only be buttered through him.
Whatever he says is final.
Okay, we move to the third and final topic now. I'm starting with you, the only Alaji in the newsroom who did not celebrate his birthday, but confidently told us that his birthday coincided with one person.
In the
Okay. No, we can do it in his house. He invite us at 7. We break the fast together. I mean, they do it now.
So I like over to you. That's a good suggestion.
We come to that later. Let's move to the third topic now. Okay. So far, about 372 petitions have been filed against INEC and those that have been declared winner. Yeah. Let's just take a look at the figure. In Abia, we have 35 petitions, Anambra 31, Lagos 30, Delta 25, Kano 23, Benue 17. And from the Secretary of the Tribunal in Osun State here, Mohammed Magaji, we have 14. 14, okay. And interestingly, those petitions did not come from the APC. According to the Secretary, it came from the AA and NNPP. This large number of petitions in states, almost we have in the, and we have not had the last.
Yes.
As far as the House of Assembly is concerned. Is this democracy?
Well, we still call it democracy. That's by our own standard.
Or is it part of democracy? I think I should put it that way.
Well, litigation or petition after election is part of democracy if you are not satisfied. But unfortunately, our leaders are now being elected more at the court than at the polling booth, which shouldn't be. In real democracy, it is a choice of the people. It is the popularity of candidates.
But do they allow the choice of people to manifest at the polling booth?
Yes, when they don't allow it, that's why the aggrieved candidates or parties will now go to court. In the case of Osun, but by my standard, where I voted and some little that I thought it was very peaceful.
Or you believe?
Well, believe. Okay, although there were 2 killings at least. I remember on the second election, one death in Ila and then maybe Elisha too. But on a larger scale, you see, people have the right, but it is not every time that you have the right that you use it.
But in this instance, in Osun now, I think the party is talking about exclusion of logo, if I'm not mistaken, in some states, like where we have the AA and the NNPP. Some are not actually contesting the outcome of the election. It is this technicality.
Which ought to have even been dealt with before the election. They ought to have.
Sake, when at the point of voting, if it was discovered that the logo of a political party is missing, should we have continued with that election to save all this stress of litigation and temporary victory or whatever?
I think common sense should dictate that election in that place should have been put on hold to avoid this kind of litigation. You see, we talk of litigation, we say beauty of democracy, isn't it? I think we also say the ugliness of democracy. You see, when you find this kind of this plethora of cases, petitions. We were here last week. We were discussing of the amount that INEC said has set aside 3 billion naira to fight litigation that involves INEC. You see, we talk of this syndrome, this mentality of I just must win. That is what is driving people into into losing election and resorting to going to court and allowing the court to decide who wins an election. That's not too good. It's not too good for a democracy, you know. And I don't blame such people, because politics has become very lucrative. Somebody who has invested all his resources on an election and he loses.
Who beg him?
Yeah, and now you now want him to keep quiet.
Who beg him to invest his resources?
It's like a business. He takes that risk, and if he fails, he won't just keep quiet. He will take certain actions, either legally or illegally, to pursue his desire. So we continue to have this kind, and also INEC also should be blamed. I said here once that during the build-up, long before the build-up to the election, Mahmoud Yakubu, the professor Chechama, continued to advise political parties that they should not allow the court to decide who wins an election.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was he himself that was advising politicians to go to court during the collation of result. Say, look, give us time. In another 1 week, if you are not, go to court. So he himself has submitted himself to the court to decide who wins an election, and it's a sad commentary.
Brown, interestingly, the governor of Cross River, Ben Ayade, Abubakar Bagudu Kebi, and Simon Lalon Plateau, they lost their senatorial elections, and they are also in the courts. They have filed petitions. Then you ask yourself, a sitting governor of a whole state, you now lost a part of your. Shouldn't they have known that their time is up politically, or at least for now? Good.
It boils down to one fact: our politicians are not matured. At a point when Sir Mackintosh, the chief secretary of the British government in Nigeria, was in a heated debate with Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, he said, the test of political maturity is the ability to give and take hard knocks without rancor or bitterness. Here in Nigeria, we cannot absorb anything. It is either me or nothing. And that has been the bane of our political development. We must allow certain things to go. We have the judiciary. We have the party. The party has its own disciplinary measures. Why are all these being sidelined? People ignored their party's disciplinary actions or the party machinery. People ignore the courts. And like Sir K said, there was a ruling, but it was not heeded. And yet, things continue to move on. What impression are you giving the masses? And that is why...
All the younger ones.
The younger ones. And that is why I would say the politicians have seen missing links in the polity that they continue to exploit. The gullibility of the downtrodden masses, the docility of the youths who should be championing changes, the educated youths, and then the passivity of the intellectual elite.
Some of them are doing that already.
There are very few.
You find them on the internet.
On the internet.
On Twitter in particular.
See, there is what we call mass mobilization. We don't have time. I would have told you the history of MAMSA. What they applied as MAMSA was a borrowed idea from Ghana. And what we meant when we suggested it was not the kind of thing they tried to implement.
So briefly tell us.
So, good, briefly, it's mass mobilization for participatory government. Nkrumah was the one that brought the idea. And he used the school system. We had the young pioneers, at the elementary level. We had the workers' brigade, the youths at home. And then we have the volunteer system, these three were all working for government. They were not on salaries. But then they planted in the minds of the people that what belongs to government belongs to all. And we must all work together. But here, they just saw the idea, let's do this. They rushed at it and then they bastardized it. And that is why, you know, the youths are passive, they are docile. So if anybody brings money, they follow. That is it.
When we talk about Osun the other time, you said from what you saw in places that you,
yes,
what you gather, there was no need for anybody to go to court.
Yes.
I want you to speak on that.
Oh, okay. But before I even do that,
meaning that the election has integrity.
Oh, honestly, that's the ones I saw.
Okay.
The ones I saw.
I don't know if Mr. Ake saw those ones that lacks credibility.
Yeah, where I voted, that's in the local. All the polling units, I think we had about 5. The peace raid.
Brown, what was the situation where you voted? Or your environment?
It was also peaceful.
Okay, you can take it up from there.
Very good. Now, where I voted, the first, the second, everything was okay. Then even in Oyo, Folani, I mean,
yes,
congratulated
of APC.
Of APC, congratulated Makinde Demuna.
Another governor in the north.
I think Zamfara also. Zamfara too has come. So you see, it is not every time that we resort to litigation. And even in Osun too, there was death was recorded in Ila and was recorded in Ijesaland. That is 2 out of about 30 local governments. So it's still
plus 1 in the office.
Okay, that's 3 out of 30. I'm not justifying, please. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying, relatively, comparatively, I mean, the state was peaceful. You know, so you see.
All the election was peaceful.
Oh, the state during the election was peaceful.
Okay.
So let me combine it. So I think things like this, it is not always that we have our way. In 2018, Demola lost. The sitting governor now lost. He came back and he has won. So I think this resulting, look, the plethora of cases these people have, honestly, I don't know how, if they assign all the judges in Nigeria to handle these election cases. We have pre-election, we have election, and so many other things. The judges will get nothing else to do apart from litigation.
If many people, there is this theory in economics, when money is chasing too many goods. Now, when you have many people, many litigations before a judge, don't you think it can be related?
It will overstretch the capacity and capability of these judges, and they are human beings anyway.
Yes,
they are human beings, so they can be subjected to human frailties. You see, you see, most of this, I want to believe that some of these cases, some of those people who go to court, I think it's a kind of face-saving device. Face-saving, like in Osun State now, I don't see reason why some people decide to go to court in any of the elections, because we saw in some measure of fairness and free atmosphere, but they want to save face, at least to convince their followers that they are still,
relevant.
They are still relevant. Honestly, some of these cases are frivolous. And such cases should not last more than a day in the court. I think the judges should be good enough to just throw them overboard. And yes.
From your head,
well, you see, Indira Gandhi said one thing: even God Almighty will not grant this for us. We must earn it ourselves. Nigerians are depending too much on God. We are too passive, too docile, too gullible. Let everybody wake up and see how we can educate the people. The missing link that is giving us headache is the lack of civic education. And that was why civics was removed from the school syllabus. they knew what it would cost.
We'll come to that another time.
Okay.
Your final thing.
Well, as our leaders are complicit, there should be an attitudinal change on the part of the followers too. Because ultimately all these leaders too come from us. They come from within us.
Product of society.
They are the product of the society. So ultimately what they do is a reflection of what the society is. They didn't drop from heaven. They came up from within us. Of course, when they get there, they become different beings entirely. But if we all have this attitudinal change, wanting the society to be better, I think it will then mean that by the time they get there, they will be refined material. But if it is still the same way it is, God bless Nigeria.
Final take, one sentence, okay?
Well, I think the courts have now become the final place for us to know who wins.
Who actually won an election.
So it's a challenge to the court. As you have said, people are losing confidence in the court. It's an opportunity for the court, particularly under the new CJN. Mm-hmm. That's the first. That is a major assignment before him. That the court should be seen as displaying open integrity, fairness, and not giving victory to people who have lost at during the election.
That's how far we'll be able to go on today's edition of this program in the newsroom. Kayode, I appreciate your contribution.
Thank you very much, Joe.
And Ademi Brown.
Thank you.
We want to believe you also enjoy the newsroom.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the discourse.
So thanks for coming.
Yeah. And
Mr. Lagola, we also appreciate you.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
The program will be back tomorrow. We meet between 3:30 and 4:30 for another edition. My name is Abiodun Lalere. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.